Most people think a tower climber is a tower climber, but it's not that simple, because there's a massive difference between a guy climbing a cell tower and a guy working on a broadcast tower, and almost nobody understands how different those two worlds really are. Trade sources often cite somewhere around 12 to 15,000 tower climbers in the United States. But when it comes to serious broadcast tower work, you're not talking about thousands. You're talking about maybe 200 to 250 guys in the entire country. I've spent years climbing towers, including some very tall structures. So when I say this, I'm not speaking from the outside. Now here's where people get it wrong. Cell tower climbers have a tough job. I've done it. Night work, bad weather, spending hours up on a tower, working in some rough conditions. It's just a different kind of difficult. Cell tower climbers don't just climb one type of structure. They climb everything. Different sites, different builds, different companies. You might be on a tower one day, a rooftop the next, a smokestack, or the side of a building. And most of the time, it's not clean. You're dealing with coax, hybrid cables, everything packed into the structure. Lines running everywhere. Towers carrying way more than they were ever designed for. A lot of times you're dealing with equipment that's not even in use anymore, just sitting there in your way. Or equipment installed right over the climbing face, the exact place you're supposed to be climbing and working. You're not just climbing, you're working your way through it. I've been on sites where you're literally fighting your way through the structure just to get to where you need to work. Broadcast towers are different. Most of the time you're dealing with a much cleaner structure. Clear climb path, clear ladder. You're not fighting your way through cables like you are on a lot of these cell sites. But that doesn't make it easier. It just makes it different. And here's something most people don't even know. On a lot of these taller broadcast towers, guys will ride in what's called a pan, basically an elevator system up to their work position. Or they'll hook right into that same line the pan runs on and ride it up to where they're working. That doesn't mean they don't climb. They absolutely do. But even access works differently. Cell towers, usually 100 to 300 feet, sometimes pushing 400 or 500. Broadcast towers, 1,000, 1,500, even 2,000 feet. At that height, everything changes. The exposure, the wind, the time it takes just to get to your work position, that's not just a taller tower, that's a completely different environment.
The demand is high in both cell and broadcast, but in cell, the demand is different. You are expected to get maybe an 8-day full build. You have people that expect you to do it in 5 days, no matter the conditions, no matter how difficult. In broadcast, there's a lot more understanding. The demand is still there to get the job done in a timely manner, but it's more based on respect versus just, I'm your boss, I'm your superior, get it done.
Same industry, completely different pressure.
I'm proud to be in broadcast because of the camaraderie, the brotherhood, and the friends I've made along the way. It's hard not to become friends with all these people and love them as a brother or a sister,
And that's not a knock on cell crews. That's just how the work is structured.
You always are going to run into people who are like, I'm done with this, I'm not making enough money, I'm gone from my family too much, and they'll quit, they'll drag up at the worst times. You could be in the middle of a job and a dude just gets mad about something petty and they're gone.
Constant movement, different crews, different companies. That environment doesn't always create the same long-term connections.
In broadcast, you're going to work with guys that have been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years. So it's like you're learning from a dying breed.
Broadcast tower work requires a different level of specialization. The rigging, the planning, the scale, that's why there are so few crews doing it at a high level. And beyond that, there are climbers working in other lanes too. FAA, government infrastructure, but for most people, this industry comes down to two worlds. Cell tower work. Fast-paced, congested, all conditions, all hours. Broadcast tower work. Extreme height, cleaner structures, specialized crews, tiny workforce. Same industry, different worlds. Cell tower climbers are real climbers. Broadcast tower climbers are real climbers, but they're not doing the same job. And when you realize there are only about 12 to 15,000 tower climbers in the United States, you start to understand how rare that actually is. Most people will never understand the difference, but now you do.